At one point in my life, I didn't know Arabic.
يعني أنا يعني 18 years old فقط.
I then went ahead and learned the Arabic language in 10 months by using these rules that I will be teaching you in this video. Not only that, but I have taught hundreds of students who then went ahead as well and used these same rules to learn Arabic themselves and get to a point where they are able to understand Islam without a translation. If you are somebody who is looking to know how to learn the Arabic language to start for the first time, or you have tried in the past and you feel like it wasn't working for whatever reason, most of the times because of lack of structure, this video will help you out to realize, and it will tell you at the end of watching this video, okay, I get it now and I know why it didn't work at that time, or okay, I get it now and I know how I need to go about so it works the first time I try it. If that is something that interests you, I highly encourage you to watch the video until the end. And at any point in the video, if you are interested in starting to learn the Arabic language seriously in a structured way, in a course online that has worked for hundreds of other students, and that is proven that 100% of graduates of the course speak, read, and use the Arabic language, the one in the Quran, as their own language, go ahead and check the first link in the description. It's going to show you how it actually works. It's going to show you some of those students who have already completed, and you can hear from themselves how they did it. And if you are interested into actually starting, book a qualification call and my team will speak to you and hopefully answer any questions that you have. And if all looks good, we're going to help you out to get started into learning the Arabic language. Now, with this being said, let's get into these rules that will allow you to understand how to learn the Arabic language correctly. Bismillah. Rule number one is that vocabulary always comes before grammar. A quote that I like in this particular topic is that without grammar, little can be conveyed, but without vocabulary, nothing can be conveyed. I.e., if you don't have grammar, but you have vocabulary, you are going to be able to bring your point across and let the person know what you're trying to say. If you go to a country, like an Arab country in this case, and you don't know Arabic, but you know hammam, you know bathroom, and you know perhaps salah, prayer, you can tell the person at the airport hammam, prayer, and he will make sense of what you are trying to say. And that's the whole point of language. And I'm going to take you back to the asl of the Arab, the foundation, the source of the Arab. Now, as you guys know, Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn Abdul Muttalib ibn Hashim, Hashim min Quraysh, wa Quraysh min al-Arab, wal Arab min dhurriyyati Ismail. This is the lineage of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and it goes all back to Ismail alayhi salam, which is one of the prophets. Now, the story goes that in the ark of Noah, as they say in English, there was 80 people in there. And amongst those people and amongst those men, there was one called Jurhum. Now, when the ark and that boat went to Al-Judi, which, got stopped in a mountain, then everybody came down and all the species came down, and then they started to repopulate that area. And from that area, many people, they started to migrate. From amongst those people, the descendants of Jurhum. Now, the descendants of Jurhum, they came from that area which was around Yemen and so on, and they came around the Arabic Peninsula, which in this case we're talking about Mecca. Now, Ismail, in a long hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari, is explained as the hadith says, عن ابن آنس رضي الله عنه في حديث طويل: وشب الغلام وتعلم العربية منهم وأنفسهم وأعجبهم حين شب فلما أدرك زوجوه امرأة منهم. That Ismail alayhi salam, he grew up amongst these people that made hijrah from amongst those tribes of the Arab. They came towards Mecca, where now Ismail was with his mom, and then he went ahead and learned Arabic from them, the Jurhum tribe, who had migrated towards where Ismail was at, and they admired him as he grew older. So when he reached maturity, they married him to a woman from among them, i.e., he got married to an Arab woman. So here you can see that Ismail, being you can say the father of the main descendants, the main lineage of the Prophet Muhammad, he learned the Arabic language from the Arab themselves. Now, all of this I'm explaining to you in very summary and a little bit vague without details, just for me to get to a point, which is, at that time, there was no grammar, there was no rules, there was no mubtada, no khabar, no syntax, i'rab, all of these things. But rather, as you can see, Ismail, he learned the Arabic language from them, as in from just living with them and seeing how they express their intents on a day-to-day basis about what they want to say, about what they want to make the other person understand. And this is why likewise it was reported in Al-Mustadrak ala Al-Sahihain, which is a book on hadith, that Burayd ibn Husayb radiallahu anhu, he said within the explanation of bilisanin Arabiyyin mubin, which is an ayah in the Quran, he said, meaning bilisan Jurhum, with the language of Jurhum, of that tribe that Ismail alayhi salam learned Arabic from. So going back to our rule, you always start with vocabulary. When Ismail alayhi salam, he learned the Arabic language from Jurhum, from this tribe of people. At that time, it wasn't written, it was spoken. So you need to have a heavy emphasis on learning how to speak the language and learning how to repeat sentences and expressions. And then grammar will come later, which we are going to talk more about it in another rule of when we need to start using the grammar. And this is why in Andalus Institute, after every lesson, the student is forced to go into a call with an instructor where he then goes ahead and practices what he has learned in that lesson. He practices it in a spoken manner. Because what I have seen from my experience, not only knowing 5 different languages fluently, but as well from having seen students learn the Arabic language from a basis of grammar and then getting to the end of the program and not knowing how to speak because they were focusing on the book and the rules taught in the book and understanding them and making sense of it. And then they get to the end and they actually don't know how to use them. So I will show you inside of Andalus Institute how that works in the next frame.
So, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
كيف حالك؟
أنا بخير وأنت؟
الحمد لله أنا بخير. ما اسمك؟
اسمي نيكولاي.
نيكولاي.
وأنت؟
ميكولاي أو نيكولاي؟ من نون أو بالميم؟
نيكولاي.
بالميم ميكولاي. جيد جيد. مرحبا بك يا أخي ميكولاي. أنا اسمي عفان. اسمي عفان. من أين أنت يا أخي ميكولاي؟
أنا من بولندا.
بولندا ممتاز.
من أين أنت؟
ومن أين أنت؟ أنا من بريطانيا. أنا من بريطانيا.
Rule number 2, and this is related to rule number 1, and this is why I need you to stay and watch all the rules because each of them is related to the one before and it further explains it. Rule number 2 is that language is a skill, it's not a subject. And for you to understand this, we can take the analogy of swimming, for example. Swimming, you don't learn swimming by learning about it, by reading about it, by knowing which muscle needs to move when you do the swimming and learn by doing it. So it's the same thing with language, with the Arabic language and any other language. You first practice, and as you speak and somebody is correcting you, you modify how you say the things and remember them. So next time you want to say that particular thing, you say it how you was corrected previously. And if you go back to how Ismail alayhi salam learned the Arabic language from the tribe of Jurhum, you will see that it is not possible for them to, at that time they weren't sitting down and going over al-Ajrumiyya of Kitab. It was by hearing, repeating, correcting, saying it wrong, saying it again, correcting, and going back and forth, just like a mom teaches a child. This is how you learn a language. And this is why Ibn Khaldun, he says in Al-Muqaddimah, he says, إن اللغة هي عبارة المتكلم عن مقصوده. That language is the expression of the speaker about what he intends, what he wants to say. وتلك العبارة فعل لساني ناشئ عن القصد بإفادة الكلام. And that expression is a linguistic action arising from the intent to convey speech. As in a linguistic action, meaning a fi'l lisani, literally translated a tonguey action, as in a action that is made with the tongue. So then he says, فَلَا بُدَّ أَن تَصِيرَ مَلَكَةً مُقَرَّرَةً فِي الْعُضْوِ الْفَاعِلِ لَهَا. He says, so it must become a firmly rooted faculty in the organ that performs it, namely the tongue, وَهُوَ اللسان. So as you can see here, Ibn Khaldun, he clearly mentions, and this is hundreds of years ago, how you need to learn the Arabic language in specific. And likewise, as we have seen on rule number 1, you can understand from that time and how Ismail alayhi salam learned the Arabic language, how the language was spoken and it wasn't written yet. But later on, in the times of the Sahaba, they started to fear that because now Islam was spreading and it was mixing with different languages, that it will become weak. So they made these rules to refer back to when it comes to knowing what's correct and what's not correct. But at that time, the language was taken from the Arab directly. And this is why in the beginning of Al-Ajrumiyya, for those of you who have learned it, it says, Al-Kalam huwa al-lafdhu al-murakkab al-mufidu bil-wada'i wa aqsamuhu thalatha ila akhir al-kalam. He says that Al-Kalam is al-lafdhu al-murakkab al-mufid bil-wada', i.e. that what is considered speech in the Arabic language is what is said, mantuq, with your tongue, what is made out of at least 2 words, what makes the person hear it and not expect any extra explanation on it, i.e. is mufid, is beneficial, bil wada', i.e. what the Arab in those times used. So rule number 2, understand that Arabic is something you train, not something you study. It's something you train, not something you study. If you were to want to really learn the Arabic language and all you do is sit 1 hour a day with somebody who just talks to you only in Fusha Arabic every day, and you're trying to hear, and you're trying to take words and try to ask what is he saying, and put yourself in natural context of the day-to-day life, and keep on doing that without ever trying to understand any rule or why this is said like this, why is this said like that, you will actually go ahead and learn it and learn the language. But if you were to take a book and go over the whole book and understand each rule and why is this and why is that and why is this fu'ila and why is that fa'ala, it will actually take you longer to then speak, because you would have to, after you have done all of that study, you will actually have to start training as well. And a lot of people, they try to shortcut their way into becoming fluent in the Arabic language by doing a lot of learning and a lot of studying, but not enough practicing. And this is why in the Andalus Institute, we have as well speaking sessions that students can go in there and practice speaking with other students, apart from obviously the compulsory and obligatory sessions, one-on-one sessions with the instructors right after each lesson, which are compulsory because we don't want that students get to the end of the program and then they realize, well, I've gone over 70 plus lessons, but I understand a lot of rules And I understand why in Arabic the mubtada is before the khabar, but I cannot put it into speaking, and it's hard. So let me show you how it looks inside of Andalus Institute for you to see this put in practice. You can see here at the last lesson of A2 level, you can see there is way more dark text. That means that the student at this stage, he knows way more vocabulary and he's able to speak way more. For each lesson, there's going to be maybe one particular concept on grammar to make sure that grammar is introduced to you in a way that makes sense to you. So kana wa akhawatuha, for example, is one chapter out of tens of chapters in grammar. So instead of taking all of the chapters before, like the whole book of grammar, we give you one chapter at a time as you build vocabulary, so you are now speaking and you don't feel overwhelmed by the grammar that you are learning. Rule number 3 is that you don't speak because you are fluent. You become fluent because you speak, which is directly related to rule number 2 about training for you to get somewhere. So the more you speak, the more you practice, the more you make mistakes, the faster you are going to become fluent. And this is a problem that many students of the Arabic language have, which is that mindset of I will speak once I can say everything perfectly. But the reality is that probably in this video, me speaking in English, I probably made a few grammar mistakes. But the point is that if you are understood, you are speaking the language. Ibn Khaldun mentioned earlier, in the quote that we have mentioned earlier, he says that إِنَّ اللُّغَةَ هِيَ عِبَارَةُ الْمُتَكَلِّمِ عَنْ مَقْصُودِهِ. That language is the expression of the speaker about what he intends. It's not the perfect expression of the speaker about what he intends. It's just the expression of what he intends. So if I intend to tell you that I am looking for the toilet, and I say, hammam, 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 he will understand, okay, this person is looking for the hammam. So you are already speaking the language. Maybe you're not a professor yet, you are not completely fluent, but you are speaking the language, and that's what is important. And this is why you will see if a child goes ahead and at year 2, he is already saying things like, little things like, here you go, what do we say? Thank you, water, water, hammam. Or even if she says kaka, kaka, you will say he starts speaking already. The baby is speaking already. So he might not be able to express absolutely everything, but he's already speaking. So this will bring me to the next rule, which is fluency develops in stages, not all at once. You don't go from one day to another, that's it, you are fluent. But rather, it goes in stages. And experts in linguistics, they have tried to break down these stages into 4, which is first you learn about how to say things about yourself, how you feel, what you want, what you see, where you live, your name, etc., everything related to yourself. Then you go into your surroundings. So the country where you live, the street where you live at, the objects that you see, the directions that you are asking for, or you are, telling someone to go. Then you go into interest or topics. So things that actually interest you, like reading. You are able to talk about reading and how much you love it and what type of books you like reading, or about sports and going to the gym and what type of workouts you like to do. And then later on, you get to abstract ideas, which is opinions, beliefs, arguments, and then you can get more into actually scholarly works of ulama and Arabic books and things that are abstract ideas, like the idea of freedom, the idea of worshiping Allah Azza wa Jal, the idea of gratitude towards Allah Azza wa Jal. These are topics that require a little bit more advanced vocabulary and sentence structuring, and as well understanding when you read. But the point is that you go through all of these stages, and And you'll be surprised how many people who their mother tongue is English, they still haven't gotten to the third and the fourth stage of talking about interest and talking about abstract ideas. They are still at the level of just being able to speak about day-to-day things. And this is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just a natural thing that happens based on how you live your life. So for example, me, even though Spanish is my mother tongue, when I was 14, I left Spain. So when I left Spain, I went to France, and now I started using on a day-to-day basis the French language. So what I have noticed is that my Spanish, because the fact that I have never done any academical studies or haven't read books in Spanish, but rather all my Spanish which was used with my parents and my friends, and going to public places asking for what I'm looking for and so on. My Spanish stayed very, very simple, very day to day. So I am still at these two stages, self and surroundings. It doesn't mean that I don't have the skills to go to the third stage and be able to talk about interest and be able to talk about abstract ideas in a more eloquent way. But again, you don't speak because you are fluent. You become fluent because you speak. So I could say that because the fact that I have been using the English language to teach the Arabic language, and I had to actually learn concepts and how to explain different things in the English language, then it made me have a more professional and a more academic level type of English, being the fact that I have used the English language in this particular context more. And this brings me to the next rule, which is that vocabulary must be learned in context, not isolation. Now, what do I mean by this? A word without context is not a word, is a guess. If you are learning the English language and you ask, what does run mean? Then the person is going to give you the default meaning. They're going to say, oh, run means, to walk, but a little bit more faster. However, that person might have read or heard somebody say, I run it up. Somebody from the US, when they say I run it up, it means I make money. Or he might have said I run a business, or I ran out of money. So now run in those three different contexts, it means something different. So when you learn vocabulary, you need to make sure to not just say, you know what, I'm going to go through the dictionary and I'm going to take 10 words every day and I'm going to memorize them. It's not going to work like that. But rather, what would be more beneficial is to listen to those who are fluent, or read a book or a text in context, in topics that are in different contexts. For example, Ali goes to the supermarket. So he enters and he says, Salaam alaikum, hal ladaykum fawakih. So now you learn ladaykum as do you have? Do you have in that context? However, lada, if you read it in another context, like for example, رأيته لدى الرجال, I saw it around those men. So now if you read this other sentence, it's the same word, lada, but it means something different. So memorizing vocabulary in isolation, it doesn't make sense, but rather it needs to be in context. And this is why in Andalus Institute, you learn vocabulary through organized contextual texts. And after each of those texts, you now have new vocabulary, or even vocabulary that you knew before, but in different contexts. And then you jump on the call with the instructor and you practice that vocabulary in that particular context. And you start building your word bank based on all of these contexts. And I will show you inside how it looks so you can imagine how it should be done. So here, as you can see, I am inside of the dashboard of Andalus Institute that you would see if you was a student in Andalus Institute. Now, as you can see, we have 4 main modules which we care about right here, which is A1, A2, B1, and B2. And as you can see, if I look at the roadmap, for each of these modules, there is a specific benchmark and threshold that I want to reach when it comes to vocabulary. Now, for the sake of giving you an example, if I go into A2, which is what I am on this particular test account, you will see that if I go to the current lesson, which is at the post office. So this is the context of this lesson. We are going to be learning vocabulary around going to a post office and wanting to send something. Up here, as you can see, there are specific objectives that I want from this lesson. So interact at the post office, how to interact, how to speak, that type of conversational vocabulary, and as well the usage of kana wa akhawatuha, which is a particular topic on grammar. Now, as a student, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and watch this lesson. So as you can see, we go word by word from a particular lesson or text with particular context, in this case, the post office. And then as a student, I'm gonna watch that video lesson. Then I am going to watch the breakdown. This is the vocabulary breakdown. So going word by word, how is used each of those words. And then you are going to go into kana wa akhawatuha, which is one of the objectives that we have for this particular lesson, and how is used. Then once you feel like you're ready, you have taken your own notes, you have done your due diligence, you have done your own study, you're going to go ahead and book a call with the instructor that you are assigned to. In this case, Ustad Hassan. So Ustad Hassan is available today, for example, at 11 p.m., which is a few hours from now for me. So I will go ahead and book a call with my instructor. And then my instructor, what he's going to do with me on that 1 hour call is work on that same thing that I have taken the lesson on, which is how to interact at the post office and the usage of kana wa akhawatuha. And for each particular lesson, you are acquiring a certain amount of words that build up to that threshold of that particular level. So for example, on A2, the point is that you're going to get to the top of A2 and you're going to have acquired 1,200 root words. So if there are, as you can see here, from 11 to 26, so if there are about 15 lessons, what you are going to do in those 15 lessons, on average 50 to 60 words per lesson, you are going to be learning new vocabulary in different contexts. And this is the reason why, if you check the latest lessons, you will see that, for example, let me show you. So if I show you here, for example, on lesson 10, which is the last lesson on A1 level, you will see that some words are colored in red, some other words are in dark. So that means that the ones that are colored words are new words that we are learning in this particular lesson that we are going over right now. And the ones that are dark, these are lessons that the student at this stage already knows. So you can see, of course, وعليكم السلام, نعم, هذا اليوم لأنني أريد. All of these words that are black, he has already learned them. And I'm showing you this so you see the logic behind it. Because then you are going to get to the end of A2, for example.
And lastly, and the last rule is that grammar is a tool. So introduce it when it can actually be used. Because grammar can only be used if you already have enough vocabulary. Otherwise, you are not going to have vocabulary to even use the grammar. So Imam al-Sha'bi once he said, النحو كالملح في الطعام لا يستغنى عنه. That grammar is like salt in food. You cannot just not put it, but it doesn't become the main ingredient in the food. It is really just a sprinkle type of action that you put on the food. So it's important that that is understood so you know exactly when to actually start learning grammar. So in Andrews Institute, we still learn grammar, but it comes in stages, slowly introduced, so it's digestible, and at moments where you can actually start using it. Now, before ending this video, I want to mention that if you are serious about learning the Arabic language and you want a proven course that you know if you complete and you get to the end, you are going to have learned the Arabic language, go ahead and click the first link in the description. It's going to bring you to a page where it will even show you all the students who have already completed the program. It will tell you how we go about helping you get to a point where you are able to understand Islam without translation in the Quran by going to the tafsir and so on. And then if you think that that is something that you want to do and you are serious about it, go ahead and book a qualification meeting with my team. They're going to jump on a call with you and ask you a few questions to see if you are qualified and to see if we can even help you in regards of what you are looking for and what you want to achieve within the Arabic language. And inshallah, if all looks good, we are going to see you on the other side and start this journey with you bi'idhnillah azza wa jal. I hope you benefited. Wassalamu alaikum.